Thank you, Representative Stefanik, and thank you all, particularly to your families who bear the brunt of all of our service. So thank you. And Secretary Esper, I just also wanted to, and General Milley, to commend the Army on Futures Command. I started on the M1 tank, which hasn't been modernized in 40 years, and that entire vehicle. But taking a step back, I think the defense strategy is right to shift back to great power competition, but we also can't forget the wars that we're in. We have to be prepared for future years, but we have to be also still focused on the 60 to 70 countries right now as we speak, where we have special operators and other folks deployed that need our support. So shifting over to General Goldfein and to Secretary Wilson, we all know, we don't need to rehash the issues with the A-10 over the years, your predecessors, that essentially Congress has forced the Air Force to keep it. Now we have the light attack aircraft procurement seems to be dragging along. And just very quickly, in 1952, your predecessors on both sides, the Secretary of the Air Force, Secretary of the Army, agreed to where Army aviation ends, Air Force aviation begins. I wonder, with this kind of seemingly over the years, I don't know, cultural resistance to the close air support mission, is it time maybe to shift that light attack,
Sir, first let me
over to the Army and have them take that on?
Sir, let me first respectfully push back, if I could.
Sure.
I've been fighting side by side with the United States Army my entire career. I've been on the ground. I've been in the air. There's no resistance. And I will tell you, we are going to fly to the sound of the guns, or we're going to die trying. So
I appreciate that, General.
We are committed to close air support.
We cannot let that pendulum swing too far to fly high, fly fast, fly far, while we still are. There's a lot of folks in this town that want to wish those wars away. They're still ongoing. We have dead Green Berets in Niger that had to rely on the French for close air support.
Sir,
we need that capability now, not years from now.
Thank you for the opportunity to state without equivocation that we are and we will always be dedicated to supporting on the ground with close air support. Can I talk for a minute about light attack?
Absolutely.
If I could?
You can talk for 20 seconds about light attack.
Yes, sir. I can't give you a better example of how I believe we have aligned ourselves with congressional intent on the authorities you gave us to advance the business of light attack. And if there's a follow-up question where I have time, I'd love to walk you through just what we've accomplished with those authorities.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be back for a follow-on question. General Goldfein will pick up that conversation on light attack. And I do want to be very clear. I am not, and I don't know that of anyone that is doubting the Air Force's march to the guns. I would not be here. I would be dead without the A-10, without the AC-130, without those close air support assets. What I'm talking about is capability. I'd also be a rich man if I had $1 for every time I called up for close air support and the assets were up getting gas. They didn't have the loiter time that we needed, and particularly in remote locations all over Africa and other places where we need it. So I guess my point, and I'd appreciate to be able to talk to your team for the record. My point is that capability was needed years ago. It's needed now. With all of the shift to near peer and a lot of that conversation, I fear the pendulum swinging too far, and that we're still in the fight as much as many people in this town would wish it away. So I just appreciate, for the record, a better discussion on when we're going to get those capabilities, particularly our special operators. Switching to space, I believe the Space Corps is the right way to go. Thank you for the hard work and the proposal there. I really think that we're sitting in a point in history. The Air Force shifted away from the Army Air Corps in 1947. They needed unique capabilities and people, and I think we're seeing that same shift now with space, with that new warfighting domain. On some of your programs, particularly your launch programs, I did want to ask Secretary Wilson, obviously we need to retain our assured access to space. What are you seeing as the risk and benefits of the Air Force's strategy of selecting its two service providers, I understand, for launch? For the 5-year contract, we just had an award, my understanding, on RDT&E side for upgrading the launch vehicles to be able to handle the military payloads. So that was just awarded, but before that research is done, we're going to have another award in terms of launch going forward for the next 5 years. How do you rationalize those two, and where do you see that going?
Let me give you a couple of things on launch. First, we've had a 24% decline in unit cost of launch since 2012, and it's because of a competitive environment and advances in research and development. And we're 76 for 76 on the reliability of our launches. The guidance that we were working on, and it comes from the Congress, is to end our reliance on the Russian RD-180 engine by 2022, and we are on track to do that. The real challenge is in our most difficult area, the heavy lift area, which is where this request for proposal that we expect to issue in April is going to address. The idea is a request for proposal in April for a 2020 decision in order to get off the RD-180 Russian engines by 2022. So the timeline is set by the congressional mandate and by our joint desire to not be reliant on Russian engines.
Thank you. One last question, shifting over to you, General Milley. There's just a lot of buzz, take it for what you will, in the Special Forces community about a drop in standards for our Green Berets getting through that pipeline, long and difficult pipeline, some would argue too long. That's to meet the demand that's being placed on our force. 18 years in and counting. I think we're in a generational war. The capacity building efforts, I commend what you've done on the SFAB. Have you looked into that, into this issue, allegations of investigations down at Fort Bragg and retribution on cadre that are trying to raise these issues? And if you've looked at it, what do you make of it?
We have, and I say we, as you know, United States Special Operations Command, SOCOM, has Title X responsibility for all U.S. Special Operations Forces, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. And Tony, under Tony Thomas's leadership, and Fran Beaudette, who's the commander of U.S. Army Special Operations Command, both of them have looked at those allegations in depth. And I've looked at it as a Special Forces veteran as well. So basic conclusions are, yeah, there's been some modification of changes, but not to lower standards, to meet standards of an evolving world and evolving demand. So I don't think that the special operations standards in the Q course, as far as I know, I don't think they've been lowered for any particular reason. And that's what I'm getting out of
But I'm sorry,
lots of people. I'm sorry.
General Memm's time has expired.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And I certainly take your point. I think it's a crucial issue, but it is good to know that they're maintaining the high standards. So